Hi, my name is Eric Stavola, Director of Ricoh IT Services for Ricoh. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to give me about 10 minutes just to hopefully bring some value and insight to the table around empowering your digital workplace. And at Ricoh, when we make that statement, we think that starts with a journey. And it's a journey to digital transformation, but not simply to talk about these wordings that we may not know how to act upon, but define what that means for you in your organization. Get into more collaborative, strategic conversations to help you develop this strategy and alignment in this journey, and hopefully through that process, earn the right to deliver on your transformation. You know, if I say the word workplace to you, what comes to your mind? For me, what comes to mind is I still think of going downtown to a high-rise building, into this, office with a window. Yet I haven't done that in 15 years. And I started really thinking about this, that my mental model needs to change, not only emotionally, but logically. And then how can that affect or be applied to business with others that I'm responsible for? Today we hear about dimensions of a digital workplace. Forrester had a report about 2 or 3 years ago where they broke it down into 4 areas, from culture, right, the company's approach to digital-driven innovation, technology, how the organization or company can adopt to new and emerging technology, past insights, where how a company can use customer and business data to measure performance, and then the overall organization, how aligned is the company to support its overall digital strategy. I like to take the wording digital transformation, think of transformation as the corporate strategy and digital as the overall execution. And how do we act upon that? And are those two theories in alignment? When we talk about the word end user experience, to me, this is a concept that we'll expand on a little bit more here and in the next slide. But, video persuades 73% of people to buy a product or service. This was interesting to me that I wanted to share with you because I think we have to start approaching our clientele differently. They're inundated with information. We need to quickly and efficiently be able to bring insight and sort of value exchange to them in order to spark their interest enough to get out of their cognitive tunnel to be able to see and relate to what we're trying to educate them on with our product or service. 60% of consumers feel more positive about a company after reading or consuming content from that. You have another 80% of business decision makers prefer more of articles. This concept of value exchange more and more is becoming prevalent. Then you take this word digital transformation, this omnipresent, nebulous word that seems to be, thrown around tremendously. 87% of executives say that digitization is a priority. 77% of executives say that they're dependent upon technology. But is that enough? See, too often than not, I think we look at technology simply to be the driver, when more importantly, it should be the facilitator to what we're trying to do. Eric, what do you mean by that? This is where, at Ricoh, our philosophy stems from, right? We believe the digital workplace is a business strategy to identify where we are today and to where we want to be down the road, and then challenge our current mental model of how we're doing business today in our workplace. We want to pull in not only digitization, right, from print and digitizing, but also how do we optimize and provide insight down the road, and we lump that all into a wording called digitalization. And we take this holistic conversation to bring to the table, hopefully, a new way of working in your workplace. I mentioned earlier about this concept of end user experience, and for me, it's a never-ending target or a always moving target. This statement here kind of scares me and motivates me at the same time. Expectations for experience are being set by others. The last best experience becomes the minimum expectation people expect everywhere. Now, what does that mean, right? So I try to put visuals. I'm a visual person. And if you look at all these legacy business models, all of them, or most of them, if not all of them, are going out of business. Yet at the same time they're going out of business, you have other organizations thriving, and they sell the same product or service. But they approach the customer differently. In essence, a different end user experience. And so more and more, we're seeing that how we approach our clientele is more important than what we represent or could possibly sell or service them with. And this expectation or experience is having an impact on the workplace. The reality is a traditional workplace model can't keep up with the way businesses work today. Forrester just talked in their Digital Transformation Summit last year that 75% of today's S&P firms will be gone by 2027. That's why more and more this concept of a digital workplace continues to be a top business initiative for executives to be able to improve employee agility, engagement, and productivity. In 2017, there was a Gallup poll done that said that 70% of all employees are just not engaged at work. And that's an amazing statistic that you can see why more and more executives are looking to embrace this concept of aligning technology and information to be a more effective partner in their organization by taking more of a stewardship to this digital workplace. In fact, research tells us that by 2020, the greatest competitive advantage that an organization may have is how they're exploiting or taking advantage of technology. The way I like to look at that is the biggest competitive advantage down the road will be how organizations are able to shift their leverage of information or their use of technology simply from a cost center to a strategic asset of their company. Now, how do you make sense of all of this? For me, it's amazing how fast information is being created. I read a statement, or read somewhere that there was more information created in the last 2 years in the entire history of mankind. Then you think of this whole IoT concept with things, right? 31 billion connected devices. And what's interesting about this is there's been a change in our behavior. 79% of all internet traffic is done through a mobile device. So our experts today tell us that to make sense of this physical and digital world is to view it as a digital ecosystem made up of people, things, and business. And the reason they call it an ecosystem is if you make a change to one of these areas, it's going to directly impact the other two. And for us, we believe at the core of this digital ecosystem is a digital workplace. And we believe that by being a better steward and harnessing this concept, you can impact your organization in 3 specific areas. First, by having an overall strategy to an empowered digital workplace, you can better engage your employees and, more importantly, your clientele. Then, by challenging the mental model of this workplace, we think that you can better leverage your information and your technology, make it a more effective partner to the organization. And then when we look at not just digitizing, but also your enabling technologies, how do we align those two to optimize and automate workflow and processes, ultimately to give you an empowered workplace that helps with the bottom line? Now, how do we bring value to this conversation, right? Where does the value to the business come into play? In working with leaders, I see them really having 3 levels of want. First, at the very basic, they want to maintain and defend their core business. And in essence, they want better speed to act in order to do that. Then when you get to nurturing or emerging business, this is where can we allow better agility and collaboration with my most critical asset, my employees, and empower them to be able to work anytime, anywhere, but also have tool sets at their disposal to be able to communicate more effectively and share their ideas. And then lastly, how do we generally create new business? This concept of digital dexterity, where it's very multifaceted, right? Where employees are more collaborative, analytical, mobile, innovative, and creative. Now, for us at Ricoh, we think no matter where you are in this transformation journey, we can help you drive this. From a very basic level, most people think of Ricoh from a hardware in a manufacturer company, but we're an innovative company and with innovation. And for us, print is very key to this overall process. It's not only how you start to create and manage paper-based information, but it's the on-ramp to the device. 30 years ago when we connected this MFP, at that point in time, it had input, output, process, storage. By definition, it became a computer. And today, right, it's not only from a print standpoint, but from a document management standpoint, but from an application standpoint. That's where it comes to this concept of digitize or to digitize information, where we're converting your paper to digital information in order to help with that speed to act. Then how do we integrate into business process, right, where we move and improve the organization's function to support the overall business goals? And then can we bring strategy and insight to be able to easily access and analyze the data you need to make better business decisions? For us, right, the value over time is this, and part of the key focus of this journey is to move away from document focus over to data focus and ultimately to user focus, right? That concept of end user experience. For us at Ricoh, we know that we have to approach our clients differently. We want to be more relevant to them. It used to be we can come in and tell a nice story and then, get a customer to possibly sign with us. Then we deliver or act, and then, hey, in 90 or 120 days, we'll come in for a quarterly business review. Today, our customers want something different. They want us to come in and proactively anticipate their needs, as I stated before, to provide them more insight up front. Strategize, come in and give me some relevant value exchange today, and then possibly even devote some resources or act upon, and then in that conversation, I may or may earn the trust to deliver on more services. For us, what we're hoping to do in this series is to provide some value exchange about digital transformation and what we believe empowering digital workplace is. And I would invite you from this, if there was a interest, to pay attention to our second video where we would specifically get into what Ricoh can do for you. Now, I know that timing is always critical, so if you'd love to talk to me more or you possibly have needs from what we talked about here, we'd love to come in, have a business conversation with you, see what we can do, and devote some resources and become more relevant in your organization. I appreciate your time. Again, my name is Eric Stavola, and I look forward to having more conversations with you in the future, but thank you for your time.